Hi there, Nicole Lang, acupuncturist and creator of the Baby You Want online fertility program. And today we are going to do a little DIY acupressure lesson you can hopefully put to good use. This is the Acupressure for a Calm Uterus and More video. In this video, I'm going to cover one of my personal favorite fertility and reproductive health points. It's called Lung 7. It's often abbreviated as LU7, just in case you decide to look it up after this video. And here's what I'm about to teach you. You'll learn how to find it, what it's good for, and the best way to stimulate this point. Each acupuncture or pressure point is on a meridian or a channel, and the main 12 channels are named after organs. There's the heart channel, the liver channel, the kidney channel, and so on and so forth. Today's point is on the, you guessed it, lung channel, which is a channel that starts up on the chest and goes down the arm to the thumb. Most of the points on this channel that are between the elbow and the thumb make a pretty darn straight line. But lung 7 is the one exception. It's over here. And for this reason, the Chinese language name of this point is Liang Chui, which translates to broken sequence. The good news for us is that there is a super user-friendly way to find this particular point. You just want to take the web of your hand between your thumb and your index finger and put it right up against the same web of your other hand, like this. The spot where the pad of your index finger lines up with the side of your radius bone, which is the bigger of the two bones that makes up your forearm and leads towards your thumb, is where lung 7 is. To double check if you found this pressure point correctly, you should be able to feel a sort of groove in the side of this bone, like a little dip. That's lung 7. Of course, it's on both sides, and it doesn't really matter which side you stimulate. So now that you know where it is, let's talk about what this point does. Lung 7 is a point that is specifically used for 5 main things. First, it's known as the command point for the back of the neck and the head. So you can use it for things like tension and headaches, which is pretty handy. Second, the lung is the main organ connected to grief and sadness in Chinese medicine, which kind of makes intuitive sense, right? When you're sad or you're grieving, you might sob or sigh or cry or even wail, and all of this takes lung energy. Lung 7 can be a great point if you're feeling sad or you're grieving a loss, and that alone can be really applicable for fertility. Third, in TCM, the lung is responsible for half of our immune function. That translates to lung 7 often being used for fighting colds and working on allergies, especially when there's things like sneezing, runny nose, or a sore throat, because it's all connected to the lung. Fourth, any point can pretty much always treat issues around where it's located. So you can always use lung 7 for wrist pain, carpal tunnel, thumb pain, and so on. And the fifth and final function of lung 7 is rooted in its role as what we call a master point to one of the 8 deeper and more primitive acupuncture channels. These are a group of channels that run deeper in our core and are not named after organs. Lung 7 just so happens to be the master point that connects to and stimulates one of these deeper channels that's called the conception channel or the Renmai. And the conception channel is aptly named because it has a direct connection to the uterus. This means that lung 7 has been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years to treat loads of fertility and reproductive health concerns. Uterine issues or cramps, bleeding or cramping in early pregnancy, and even things like vaginal discharge or pain with sex can be worked on with lung 7. I personally love to stick a little stick-on needle or acupressure bead or seed on both wrists on these points for the patients I see during my pre- and post-embryo transfer sessions. Avoiding using a needle here means that people can still move their hands to drink their water or hold hands with their partner or grab their crotch if they feel like they're about to pee in their pants, and they can still benefit from this acupuncture point. And that's good for transfers in particular because pressure or needling or tapping on this point can help the uterus stay calmer and more settled quickly after a catheter is put inside of it for the transfer. It would be similarly beneficial for something like an IUI, a uterine biopsy, or a saline sonogram, or anything else where something is put into the uterus. I already mentioned things like acupressure beads or seeds or stick-on needles can be lovely on this point if you have the time to get them ahead of time or your acupuncturist offers them as options. Once a bead or a seed is in place, you can give a little extra stimulation by tapping on top of it. These sorts of devices can generally stay on this point for 1 to 3 days or get swapped out if they start to peel from hand washing. If you only want the benefit of the point for a short while, you can always take the stickers off sooner. And especially if they're starting to dig in or bug you, just take them off. But if they're feeling fine and your uterus has calmed down, you can still choose to leave them on longer for good measure. It won't hurt a thing. Another way to stimulate lung 7 is with an acupressure bracelet type device. Now there are several different brands, but C bands are the most common. C as in seasickness, which is the main thing they're marketed for, but we could call them calm uterus bands too. So what these are is they're basically these super stylish little wristbands that have a half of a bead sticking out on them that you're going to line up with your acupressure point so that it will press automatically and stimulate them. And don't say that I didn't warn you if you also find yourself suddenly motivated to put on a high-cut leotard and start to jazzercise, because these puppies are obviously very stylish, and that has a fun power of its own. You can, of course, also just wing it with no prior purchase necessary. As I just showed you, the tip of your index finger is lined up perfectly with this point, so if you're at the clinic and you just had an HSG and you're all crampy, go ahead and just give this point some taps or simply press and hold the point or do little circles. It might help your uterus calm down quicker. At the very least, it's not going to hurt anything. And speaking of not hurting anything, I also love that lung 7 happens to be a point that's historically been used a ton for pregnancy concerns. So this is a point you can feel really totally great about tapping or stimulating, even if you're in your luteal phase or have a newly confirmed pregnancy. And that's it. I just love this point. It is truly one of my favorites. Lung 7, also known as Liang Chui or broken sequence or the master point of the conception channel. Now you know how to find it, what it's good for, and the best ways to stimulate it. So tap, stick, or C-band it up, my friends. I hope this is a super useful point to you, and remember, lung 7 is a fantastic point for good old period cramps too. It's definitely one of my faves. I think I've mentioned that. If you found this video helpful, please spread the word. If you don't want to miss out on future videos, hit that subscribe button. Of course, I would love to invite you to check out and sign up for the Baby You Want program too. It's the one and only truly holistic fertility program where you can feel supported and empowered and cultivate resilience even in this really, really hard part of life. So check it out. As always, remember I'm out in the world cheering you on, and thank you so much for spending this time with me. Why do I? Now I do it. Yeah! Oh, I think you're mocking. Whoa! Woo! Whoa! I wasn't expecting it to work.